Welcome to Marketing at the Edge, where we look at how marketing and sales must really evolve together and keep pace with the rapid technology change and, of course, the rise of AI. So, today we're going to dive into a critical theme, at least for myself, and I think for Tom, which is around humanizing sales. Now, I've spoke about this a number of times, I've written about this. Gartner once said buyers are 70% through their journey before really talking to sales. And I've argued that it's probably closer to 90%. And that's, to me, that's a problem. In that process, sales is surrendered the very thing that makes it valuable, that human consultative interaction. So today, I'm excited to welcome Tom Libby. He's a founder of Smarketing Connect. He's spent more than 20 years helping small businesses align sales and marketing, coaching founders, and leading teams. And what I love about Tom is his practical, really people first approach to driving sustainable growth. So, Tom, welcome to Marketing at the Edge.
Thanks for having me, Michael. I'm super excited to have this conversation. As you noticed from our previous conversations, I get a little I get a little running through the vocal port. So
Absolutely. And just that, one of those previous conversations, you said something that was very visual for me. And you said that sales really hasn't changed much since the days of bartering. And I love that visual. So, can you kind of share with the audience what you really mean by that?
yeah, I mean, I think about the I mean, from the very beginning, people quote unquote did business with, and even in the bartering scenario, you can think of it as some sort of exchange of business, right? Whether you're swapping hides for corn or whatever. I'm just thinking like crops for corn or crops for hides or whatever, right? The idea was you're still not going to do business with somebody you don't like. So the idea of doing business with somebody that you know, like, and trust has been around since the days we didn't even have cash in hand. We were still so I tell people all the time is the more things change, the more things stay the same. And you've heard that phrase 1,000 times from your grandparents to your parents, and now you're hearing it here in this podcast. But it is reality. As we look through in the ways technology is changing the methods in which we gain information, we're still doing business with people that we know, like, and trust. Even if it's because there's even some theories behind, well, you don't need salespeople for certain sales, right? You can go online, you can sign up for a subscription like a Netflix or Prime or whichever, and you don't need a salesperson to guide you through that sales process. You go on their website, you click sign up, you put your credit card in, and you're done. But you're still doing that with a brand that you either know, like, or trust, even if it's from other social proof or somebody's telling you, giving you a piece of advice to, I love Netflix, I love Prime, whichever, you should sign up. It's great. So you're still getting some of that validity, and you're getting to a point where like, and you're still doing research on them, right? So you go research Prime, what shows do they have? You're researching Netflix, what shows do they have? I like these shows better than those shows, et cetera, right? But to your point about the bartering system, like, that same process still happened from day one. You're gonna walk up, think of like a farmer's market or again, some sort of bazaar or exchange where you're coming up to and you're carrying your goods of your goods for sale, so to speak. And let's say I'm a hunter, I got a bunch of hides and I need food for my family. I'm gonna go and I go through the bazaar and I go, oh, that guy looks shady. That guy, I don't like that guy. You're still making judgments based on something that you see. And so, like, or your friend says, "Oh, I just did business with Michael. Go over to his area, table, craft, whatever, and he'll treat you well." Nothing has changed. It's just the mechanisms in which we use to learn or feel what we learn and feel.
Well, and that brings up because you talk about going through the bazaar, and that booth that's marketing, that's brand, that's me bringing the brand. But let's think about this from like a SaaS organization. There, you can go in, you can sign up and start using it, but you've lost that human connection, and especially you could be purchasing something that really isn't right for you. And that's where I believe that human touch, that consultative touch really comes into play. And I think we're losing that a little bit in sales. And I'd love to how do you get that back? How do you get that human element, that consultative point back when they're almost ready to sign on the dotted line and it may not be the right solution for them?
I think there's some. I think there's some training eras going on. I think there's some eras of ambition, so to speak. So, for example, the mentality of a company, and this as a consumer should scare you, right? And the mentality of a company in today's world that says, I don't care where the money comes from. I don't care who the person is that signs up. We just need people to sign up and pay because we need revenue to grow, and we have investors that we have to answer to. And there's all kinds of things that happen behind closed doors that make them feel like the person signing up is irrelevant. It's the money coming in that's important. And to your point a second ago, and why they should care, by the way, is because now SaaS companies are all about churn rate, right? Because they think it's quote unquote easy to get people to sign up, but it's harder to keep them, which means they're putting a lot of emphasis on their customer success teams. It's the after effect that they're worried about, right? So anybody and everybody can sign up. We don't care where the money's coming from. We'll work on it on the back end. And now you're playing catch up the whole time. Whereas if, in my opinion, you did it right in the first place, your customer success team should have the easiest job in your company. If your messaging is targeting the right people, if your sales team is consultative and they're signing up the people that they know are going to be the best clients all the time, then your customer success team should have the easiest job in the whole company, right? So, and I don't think that one is more important than the other. Don't mistake me for saying that I don't think customer success is important. I still think that that stickiness and having support and reinforcements on the backside of your sale is vital. But I do believe that if, for example, if somebody finds your website, clicks on that, sign up now, maybe the first interaction they have with your company is a salesperson reaching back to them saying, hey, I just noticed you signed up for our service. I'd love to get on a call to make sure this is right for you. And then just get on a call like this or interaction like this and say, can you explain to me what you were looking for, why you signed up? Great. This fits this. It fits this. Did you know that we don't do this? I don't know where that research came from, but we don't do this. Is that okay? Are you going to, and like, it still could work. But now, I mean, we're also talking about the difference between signing up for, let's say, a CRM for an individual like you or I at a HubSpot or Zoho, and I'm not giving any of these shout outs because I really don't care what CRM it is, but it's different when you're talking about $30 a month per person per seat and you only have two people, so it's $60 versus somebody who has a team of 50 and now they're looking at 20,000 or 10,000 a month, let's say 10,000 a month to run their CRM. Those people are not making that decision based on a website. Those people they're still not making that decision based on a website. So they want to talk to people. So there is a difference between, again, a small business owner like you or I that says, I can try this CRM for 3 months. If it doesn't work, I'm just bouncing to another one because it's only going to cost me 60, 80, $90 and I'm not worried about $100, right? Whereas if I'm running an actual organization, so there's definitely different tiers here, but I will argue that even the solopreneurs like you and I, when looking for a CRM, we're not just finding the website, clicking it, signing up and going forward. Most times we're going to talk to people we know and find out if there's anybody that they can recommend. The know, like, and trust factor still has to be there from an external source. So, but to your point, and the whole topic of this particular podcast is, there's a time and a place for everything. There's a way to do things in the world that makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense to your company to have salespeople, then don't have salespeople. I understand that. I get it. But if you are expecting your relationships with your clients or your customers to be deeply rooted, you have to have somebody. There has to be a person-to-person connection there. There has to be, because you're not. How deeply rooted are you to consumer brands that, like, for example, my house is divided on our sneakers, whether we wear Nike or Reebok. But I'll tell you, if somebody finds a deal, they're abandoning that brand in a heartbeat because you can't ignore Adidas if they go on sale at $20 a pair, right? Like, so the brand loyalty is not as deep as we think it is when we remove the humanization from the product. Or
No, it's a great point. And I used to manage an inside sales team as part of the marketing pipeline. And we were able to surface, what we thought was good opportunities. And one came to a salesperson and he took that approach to truly understand that prospect and what they were looking for. And that was very enlightening for me when he said, "This product won't do what you need." I was like, "What?" And he was right because he was consultative in his approach. He understood that, and he made recommendations for solutions that would meet their needs. And I learned a lot from just that interchange. Now, part of what I postulated up front is, they're 90% of the way there. They're just looking for you to sign. And you and I were having a conversation around that. Well, how do you get involved when you're at that end? And you're having that first conversation with them, how do you back the train up and become human with them and have that conversation without, how's the weather in Colorado? Or, how do you get to that point? What is that technique?
It's actually funny that you just said that because when I train salespeople, I always tell them to never start rapport building with something that is not business related. So you should start your rapport building immediately with business related things. The other stuff can come after for sure. As you get a little bit more personal with them, and you can talk about the weather all you want. Once you get past that, like I already get that know, like, and trust feeling from you. So now we can talk about anything. That's later, right? Initially though, it's all business all the time. To answer your question, and I'm gonna contradict a little bit of what I'm saying here about humanizing sales, because I do think that there's some work you can do on the marketing side to get that, so that when you have that first conversation, that you have that rapport building foundation built on something. Again, they're doing research. They're doing 85, 90% of what their knowledge is based on before they get to you as a salesperson. So you leverage that in your rapport. Meaning, so Michael, tell me about how you got here today. What made you think of us as a solution for your situation, right? And they go, "Oh, I read this blog, I saw this article on Crunchbase or whatever," right? Like I saw this third party thing. I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. I remember doing that article. That interview was amazing. They did a really nice job segmenting all the different solutions. And by the way, I don't think any are better or worse, but they have to fit what you're doing. So tell me a little bit about why you think ours fit your scenario, right?" And they're already thinking like, this guy, no, he gets me, like, right? Like this
Yeah.
person, understands my thought process on how I got here in the first place. So you're building a know, like, and trust factor by simply asking them questions about how they got in front of you today. Tell me, like, did you read an article? How did you find us? Now, by the way, in most of these scenarios, don't mistake my words for me not understanding that you already have all those analytics. You're gonna know most of this stuff before you ask these questions because we have it all, right? We know if they're downloading. We know if they're downloading white papers. We know if they're visiting our website. That we already know that. We know if the if the referring link, if the referring backlink to us is a third party like a Crunchbase or something like that. We already know that. We have that information available to us today. And if you're not working in an organization that has that data available to them readily, then you should go to your boss and ask them why. Where the Google, like, is the Google Analytics set up on your site? Is, like, there's all kinds of tools out there, and some of them are free actually. So you don't have to, but you do need to have somebody who knows how to use them properly. But that all being said, that rapport building coming in, you have all the data sitting in front of you. Now, I'm going to say, for those of you who don't, that doesn't mean you can't do the same thing. But now you're asking genuine questions, and your reaction to their responses are going to be pretty genuine when they say, "Oh, I saw you in an article in Forbes or whatever," and you go, "Oh my God, I totally forgot we even did that article," or, "I remember that article. That was such a long time ago." It's amazing that's an evergreen, like, that you still found that after all this time. We did that 4 years ago. Is it's still relevant to you today? And now, by the way, you can go back to your marketing people and say, "Hey, we have an evergreen piece of content out there at Forbes. We should probably be using this more." But that's all information that you can gather that you're not going to know if you expect your buyer journey to be completely humanless. You're never going to collect that data from them.
And that's the important part of that bidirectional relationship between marketing and sales, because hopefully, as a marketer, I've provided you that information about that prospect and where they've looked. And that conversation you have with that prospect and what really were their trigger points. Hopefully, you're giving that information back to me so I can utilize that as I continue prospecting and really dialing that in as well.
So, and here's the thing, even if they don't, again, I still say that we need to have mechanisms built in, and the way that sales and marketing interact. I mean, we've been fighting this fight, Michael, decades, right? Like, again, And you have really good consultants out there like yourself, myself, that when we work together, if you have two consultants working together, I promise you that sales and marketing alignment is going to be better than you're going to do by yourself, because people don't think of it that way. People think of it as a linear thing, that marketing feeds into sales, and marketing should just know what's going on because they know industry trends. They should be researching this on their own. The feedback coming back from your own sales team is far more valuable than anything that you're going to find on the internet. Anything. So
Yeah,
if that
agreed.
exchange is not happening, you've got a bigger problem than just than just sales and marketing unaligned.
No, that's a miss in a former company that I worked with. That was exactly it. I sat with those salespeople on a weekly basis and got that feedback. What resonated, what didn't, what articles did they, everything around that really just that was the gold.
And if you don't want to quote unquote bog down your salespeople with unnecessary meetings, then record the calls and let the marketing team listen to them. You don't have to have meetings with the salespeople to hear what they're saying. Or here's an idea: every once in a while, invite one of the marketing people on your team just to sit in. I don't. Why is that? If you think a marketing person sitting in on a sales call is a waste of time, again, you're already failing. You're already losing the fight. So I think, and there, especially in enterprise sales, you're almost never one-to-one. Meaning, like, if I'm selling into a company that has 500 people, the idea of me and you meeting and signing up $1,000 piece of software, that is not happening. They are going to have a team of people on their side to learn and understand your software, and you should have a team of people on your side that can match their energies and be able to answer any question that pops up. So if I'm a salesperson, I'm really good at my job, and I get a meeting with a 500-person company, and they're bringing their CTO and their director of sales, their director of marketing, et cetera, et cetera. Well, guess what? I'm going to be bringing the same people. I want at least somebody from our marketing department there so they can answer some of the general marketing questions and maybe some of the product features that I may or may not know are coming up. Maybe product roadmap stuff that we
Right.
can
Yes.
speak to. And maybe I bring a technical person for integrations and onboarding and stuff like. So I would want those people on my team there anyway. So if that marketing person is in on that call, they're going to learn an exceptional amount of information. They're going to go back to their director of marketing, VP of marketing, whomever, and they're going to say, you should have heard the way Tom handled this question. We should be using this in our marketing messaging. Like, Tom handled this
Exactly.
question. When the customer asked this question, we always have, and in the FAQs, we have it answered this way, but the way Tom answered it, we should be using it. Like those, and that doesn't need to be quote unquote an exchange of information. It's because they're there and they're involved. If we don't think marketing needs to be involved in any of it, again, we're already failing. And this is coming
No.
from a pure salesperson. I just think, like, I'm a salesperson through and through. So, but I've always had the mental thought of, if somebody is going to be on my team, I want them to be beneficial to my team. So if I'm going to have a marketing person that I'm going to interact with from the marketing team, I want them embedded. Like, I want them to be part of the team. By the way, and you can also align some of your compensation packages to do that better, so that the marketing team now has incentive to be involved in those things. And it's not just simply, we hit our KPIs, we're good, just give us our raise and whatever. No, make it revenue based. And if the salesperson's judged on revenue, then the whole team is based on revenue, right? Not just certain KPIs of, we did this many leads and we sent in this many leads. We got this. Here's our funnel. This percentage is at this point and blah, blah. None of that matters if you can't get them to cross the finish line.
Exactly. No, I love that idea. So I kind of want to close out with, first of all, I want to thank the audience for tuning into this segment of Marketing at the Edge, Humanizing Sales. Now, I hope all of you walked away with fresh ideas on really how AI is really rewriting everything. And a lot of what we talked about is AI behind us. So big shout out, as always, to my guest, Tom, for sharing practical and really real world hands-on knowledge. So Tom, thank you so much for joining.
No, I appreciate it. I love this stuff. And as you know, as you'd already noticed in our past conversation, I can talk about sales all day long. So you at some point have to shut me up.
So if you want to learn more from Tom, follow him on LinkedIn. Now, if you'd like to revisit today's insights or explore previous topics, stay connected at Marketing at the Edge. I'm Michael Elliott. Until next time.